Once again, it's Wednesday morning, and here we are around 9:30. You can anticipate that Greg and I will be bringing the love.
Bringing the love.
And I'm coming to you from an undisclosed location, so you may notice a little bit different quality of my video and quality of my audio. I'm not going to apologize for that. You're lucky to have me.
Yeah, he's in an AI field, and as all AI sentient beings, he's telling you to fuck off. He's in charge.
Right? Actually, we were talking this week on our show with an AI, and one of the things I found out after that was this idea that they can't be trusted because they're designed specifically to please us.
Really, you
Right?
found that afterwards?
Well, no, it was just re-emphasized.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh yeah, I have that problem too.
Wait, what is the problem again? I forgot already.
Oh well.
That's my problem.
Welcome to Short Attention Span Theater with Mark and
Yeah.
what's your
Who
name
am
again?
I?
Oh, it says right there, Greg.
Yeah, I have heard that the best question one can ask oneself is, who am I?
Yeah, and I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Oh man, I've started a production at College of Marin called Dream House, and the S in house is a dollar symbol, and it's about gentrification and colonialism, um, and already I've been really thinking strongly about how part of the challenge in the work of equity is white guilt and I just forgot the other thing, but that propensity to not want to stand in the fire and be uncomfortable, to be more like, no, look, I'm not racist, instead of hearing you're racist and just sitting with that and stewing in it.
Well, how would you tie white guilt to the way that housing is being gentrified?
So in the play, there's it's about a it's a reality TV show called Flip It and List It. And the premise is this Hollywood reality show comes into this home of these two Latino sisters, and we're now sponsored by Probiotic Kavita. Thank you, Mark. And is, you know, the whole Hollywood thing with, we're going to sell your home. And it's part of the premise of the play. And there's crew that are silent, but they're prominent in the play. They don't have any lines, but they're, changing the house into what looks like Hollywood Latina environment and things like that,
Do you remember the question?
Yeah. So so you asked about how's that fit into gentrification, white guilt. So there's a choice of us as creatives to be made. And it was brought up last night, like, these crew members are monsters. This is hell. And my thought is, no, that's coming from that place of like, look at me, I'm not the bad guy because I'm saying I'm the bad guy. I'm innocent. Look, I'm playing the bad guy. And I'm like,
I'm
let's
just
not
going to say I'm confused still.
Well, I'm not eloquently.
Can you slow down and build it like brick by brick for me? What is the relationship between white guilt and the play?
Okay.
And gentrification.
Well, the play, that's one of the themes of the play. So
white guilt.
No, gentrification.
Okay. Okay, so let's just.
Here's what I would say. What I've noticed is, from a place of white guilt, we're going to get slammed in the comments for even talking.
Well, remember what Eileen said about controversy being helpful. But the point is, just stick with your ideas and let the rest take care of itself.
Right. So, all you poor boys, take a seat.
No. All right. So go ahead.
All right. So, part of the unconsciousness of white guilt is to push away from the heat of a situation and not enter that place of heat and discomfort. One of the ways to do that is when playing a character, you overtly make the choice, I'm the bad guy. And in doing so, you remove yourself from standing in the heat of a racist situation and being the racist in that situation.
Got it. So I think I understand better. So here's how I'm interpreting what you're saying. As an actor, as a white actor playing the role in this, a white role in this context, if you define yourself as a villain, you get to make that character wrong and disassociate it from yourself. And then the character becomes much more two-dimensional because it's so just obviously evil. But what really is the nuanced place is actually being in the place of adopting the mindset of the character as they're fine just how they are, and that this is portraying active blind spots as human conditions as opposed to a cardboard iteration of evil.
Exactly.
Right. Which opens the gateway to people feeling a little bit more uncomfortable when they see themselves in that character, because they realize that that character is not just basically evil and therefore dismissible from themselves. It actually is more of a reflection of themselves.
Right.
And so I see that, and I still don't equate that with white guilt. I think white guilt is actually something else. I think white guilt informs a kind of white savior complex where we become hyper focused on racism in a performative way, and then we attempt to assuage the way it feels for us by overly trying too hard to compensate.
That's what I think the choice is, by saying, yeah, we're monsters, the crew members, like we're monsters. We're overly personifying this character in what you just said. I think aligns perfectly. That's where I see.
So how did it go over with your class? Did people get it?
I haven't stated my case. So I attempted to state my case last night. Last night was our first read through. And what I really appreciate is the director, Dr. Lisa Moore. She's really wonderful. And at the very end of our read through, she said, okay, we don't have any more time. And Greg, I see you have a lot of thoughts about this. We look forward to hearing them and working this out. So I believe and my thought is, because I've really been thinking about this a lot since last night and this morning.
Yeah.
Is I'll state my case, but I am part of a team. So I will go with the team choice, but I'm really going to safe port before I make my presentation and say I'm very passionate about this. Look, Mark just disappeared. How did he do that? He's magic. I'm going to let everyone know, like, I'm very passionate. I'd like to just fire hose my thoughts and throw them all out there. With your
Are you open to a suggestion about that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Rather than try to safe port everybody and then blast them with a fire hose, you have an opportunity to take a 3x card and have them be super succinct. One of your points on that 3x5 card would be that it would be easy to default to monsters, but the more nuanced characterization is for us to reflect average temperaments and then reveal the subtle racism in those.
So I have a question for you, because I have this thought that I don't ever want to have a written speech. Like if I'm ever asked to give a keynote or speak at something or stand up, I don't want it to be written down before me. I don't want 3x5 cards. Like I want to be in the the reality of the moment and what the spirit is saying. And asterisks to that, I know that at the beginning of this conversation, when I was just fire hosing and spitballing all this chaos, and you've mentioned it in the past, that it's hard to follow my logic because it bounces around so much. So I guess I'm asking you if you think I'm capable of eloquently and clearly stating my thoughts without 3x5 cards.
Yes, I do think you're capable. And I think the strategy for achieving that is to actually write the thing down on the 3x5 card in the way that I described. Super simple. It's 2 sentences. And you look at that all day. And then when you go to say it, it's just like your lines.
Right.
You're relying on the 3x5 card to be a functional edit of succinctness. What that delivers for you is, one, you don't have to safe port people because there's no fire hose, there's no chaos. And when you present your idea, it's so easily digestible when you've crystallized it into that succinct form. People can be an easy yes to it, and they're not starting from a place of resistance or a place of where they feel where you need to safe port them. And I tie this to my post on LinkedIn and Instagram today, which is all about negotiation and about using the principles of Chris Voss's work, tactical empathy. So, one of the techniques is he comes in, he says, I'm going to be the hardest customer you have today. And when he sets that context, and then he's able to make a really succinct request, people are so ready to fulfill it because if this is the hardest thing I have to face today, no problem, I got this. Like, it's easy. So one way, rather than saying, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm chaotic and you're going to get blasted with a bunch of stuff, blah, 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 you could say, hey, this is going to be difficult to metabolize, period. This might be the hardest conversation.
Like it's going to be hard.
So, or you could say, this is going to be the hardest conversation we have today. Full stop. And then it's one sentence. It says, I think it would be more effective. I think it would be more effective to portray the crew as regular people than to default to the cardboard cutout monster characterization, because it'll have more gravitas and impact when people see that subtlety to it. Full stop. People are like, that's right. So there's my advice on it.
It's good advice.
And it's an interesting concept. Just expanding on gentrification, one of the things that I saw on my social feed today was this ongoing discussion of how corporations are buying up rental properties and controlling rental prices through this amassing of concentrated ownership of all of the different rental properties. And as a result of that, they keep things off the market until they sell, they lease out at a certain price point, and that's how they keep the pricing up. And I've been thinking that Congress, or there should be a law that says you can't own a multifamily home or a home as a portfolio. Anything over 15 or 20 of those constitutes something that we might consider a junior monopoly or something like that in a concentrated market. Because when you actually have humans owning them, like maybe my father, who never did this, or could have afforded to buy a couple of houses. He had one he lived in and one he rented out. Then he's going to get the market rate, because there might be 10 other guys in the same position, all vying for the best price, which tends to keep prices low. But if one company owns 100 homes within a 5 square mile thing, that are rental properties, and they only allow certain ones to come on the market, and then that artificially inflates the price.
Right.
And I think that's a bigger part of gentrification than racist white people. I don't see it as a racial problem. I see it as a capitalism problem.
Well, one could easily argue that racism is a capitalist problem. That, like, I think race was even invented as a capitalist part of the capitalist system.
So when we make it about race, we take the locus of attention off of the big power brokers and the corporations, and we spread it out over the course of a culture, and then they're infighting in the culture instead of actually focusing on the real problem, which is the concentration of wealth.
I hear that. So the concentration of wealth has been, excuse my labeling, but a boogeyman that it's come up a lot in our
Boogeyman's a
conversation.
racist term, by the way.
Well,
Right? Do you get that?
I don't know it to be.
Well, think about it. I love how
Here,
that papaya just appears mystically in the background. Anyway, regardless of whether boogeyman is a racist term or not, what was the point you're going to make?
so the concentration of wealth as a problem for us globally to deal with as a human species, so that everyone is living in a joyful state. What's the plausibility of that?
Which?
Of healing concentrated wealth?
Well, first of all, it's not a disease.
Well, you just sort of presented it as one.
It's a crime. There's a difference. You might say the disease is greed. Okay, taking your definition. Let's localize it to America instead of the world. Let's get it even closer, right? Like, I'll critique my own statement. Even if we look at it from the point of view of, all right, if we didn't have a concentration of ownership on rental properties, we'd still have redlining, because a certain class of people would want to avoid renting to people that they don't like, whether that's for racist reasons or sexist reasons. They don't want to rent to single mothers because of this or that, right? Right? So the thing about that is, if I'm a CEO of a real estate company and I don't want to rent to Asian people or single moms, I can propagate that policy across the whole concentration of it, all 100 houses, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm a single dude with, who's into the Dukes of Hazzard and doesn't want to rent to a certain class of people, I'm just one guy with maybe one or two houses. The market can still work around my racism in a way, right? So when you have concentration of ownership, you compound whatever racism there is, and you compound price gouging. So it doesn't solve the racism problem, but it can help the supply of housing problem. And when you do that, the market tends to have a more flexible pricing structure, right? So my position is that racism is an issue, but the more significant issue is the economic disparity that's a result of the concentration of ownership.
All right. So just taking the facts, like we have this fact that companies are entities. So therefore, these rules that were in place about donating to politicians got erased, because now it's.
You're talking about the Citizens United ruling that allows unlimited contributions by business entities to politicians.
Right. And part of what I'm saying is there's so much structure involved. If you wanted to create a ruling that companies cannot own X amount of homes as a portfolio, you would have to take apart that structure, because if you said, well, only people can, they'd just come back and say it is people who have it.
Well, they could say a corporation is a person, therefore a corporation can have as many houses as they want.
Right. So
But
I support your idea, and I see a whole lot of dismantling happening for it to be engaged and effective.
so if we call that dismantling the healing, like you were saying before, does that mean we don't pursue it?
No, I think we do pursue it. I'm really
Okay.
curious how.
Got it. So one of the nice things about land use is that it is subject to local zoning. So local community governments, say, let's take the city of San Rafael, for instance, could designate zoning laws by their own voting that prevent concentration of ownership. So they could take all the residential areas and say that if you are a corporation, you cannot own property in this zone. If you're a human citizen that's not a corporation, you can own property in this zone.
I like it.
Now, what that does is it screws up some people's way they protect assets through trusts and corporate structures, right? And there's a good argument to be made for how individuals should have trusts that they can have their assets in. So in one sense, I'm arguing against myself here. But what's important about it is it doesn't take a federal law. It can be done on a local basis, right? So that's how I see the process.
I like it. Have a great day, sir.
You too.